What are some interesting or fun Christmas traditions you follow? My grandpa would always get up on the roof about an hour after our bedtime and stomp around on the roof with sleigh bells. That's some wholesome dedication. Every Christmas the kids in the house have wrapping paper put over the entrances to their rooms so they get to rip through it in the morning. It originally started as a way to keep a certain kid in when he kept coming out early and opening presents before everyone was awake. My husband's family did this too. Except they would wrap the doorway to the living room. And everyone would have to wake up, get dressed, and have a big sit-down breakfast before they could bust through the wrapping paper barrier and get to the presents. I cannot imagine how you could get 4 kids to be that patient. But somehow his mother managed it. My family has a tradition of leaving riddles on cards and guessing what the gift is before opening. We go around one by one, reading our hint out loud so everyone can guess. Then open it and show the room. Ends up taking like 5 hours for everyone to get through their gifts. But it's always a fun time. This sounds really cool. 28 years ago I was one of the first 100 customers at an HEB grand opening. For that honor I got 2 cans of this. That Christmas we had a fun dollar store white elephant exchange with the family Christmas Eve. I wrapped a can of the potted meat as my contribution. My mom got it and got a real kick out of it. She immediately re-gifted it to me the next day. Well, next year I wrapped it and gave it to my sister. The year after that she wrapped it and gave it to my dad. For the last 28 years this has been the most coveted gift of Christmas. I gave it to my son last year and he happily wrapped it for his cousin this Christmas. One year my great aunt got her older sister, my grandmother, a bottle of Elizabeth Taylor perfume. The perfume happened to come with a watch, a shiny gold pleather wire affair with fake white diamonds around the face. It was hideous. But my aunt wrapped up the watch too and hammed it up like it was a big deal. My grandma laughed and wore it all day, showing it off like, look at my gold watch. The next year, my grandma wrapped the watch and gave it to her sister. Laughter, surprise, etc. The watch was gifted back and forth each year with great joy. A few years ago my grandma died in June. Later that year, when I was opening my Christmas present from my younger sister, I completely unsuspectingly unwrapped the gold watch. I sobbed and laughed. Of course. And we have been trading it at Christmas ever since. Each year we cut a round off the bottom of our Christmas tree. We label it with the year. Over time it makes a sweet display/reminder of years past. My wife and I started doing this after we got married. We also got a wood burning tool to engrave the year and an image to represent something significant from the year. Then turn them into ornaments. For instance, when we traveled a lot one year we did a compass. Every year my wife and I buy an ornament for our tree that corresponds with something that happened that year. So we have a tree filled with all of these weird wacky ornaments like a tennis ball. We started playing tennis that year. Swedish Chef Europe trip. Ship Captain Nutcracker our first cruise. Amongst many others. It's such a fun tradition in December to debate what we to get and then finding something. And then reliving them all when we put them up. I'm assuming this year's ornament is a roll of toilet paper? My brother and I stay at my mother's house on Christmas Eve with our families every year. We still sit at the top of the stairs on Christmas morning until my mother tells us we can come down to the living room to see what Santa left us. We're both in our 30s and our wives and kids now sit on the stairs as well. It's getting pretty crowded, but I wouldn't have it any other way. Ha! My mom always made us wait at the top of the stairs so she could make sure Santa was really gone. Also, every year she'd say, well, the dogs sure were barking at something around 2 this morning. Wife and I order from the same Chinese restaurant every Christmas Eve. We eat from there almost exclusively on Christmas Eve. We don't do much Chinese through the year regularly. Started one Christmas Eve when we were both feeling lazy and hasn't stopped. 12 years now. A traditional Jewish Christmas. Source: AM Jewish. We have signs all over our house spelling out Leon instead of Noel. It started out as a joke because my dad is dyslexic. But it stuck, and we even named our dog Leon, and we've been doing it since I can remember. I always changed my mother-in-law's Noel candles to say El No. She would ask me if I did it and I'd say El No. She found me amusing and I miss her. Every year my family buys each other member a gag/joke/small gift. Then writes a poem about it for the recipient to read on Christmas Eve. It's probably the highlight of the entire season for me, as it's always filled with laughter at how terrible we all are at poetry. No matter how old we all get. This is a really fun way to bring everyone back to that root joy of spending time together. This year it will be virtual, but still fun. Sounds like some Dutch Sinterklaas tradition got to you. The poem with a present is very common then. On the 5th of December. We eat rice porridge and hide a peeled almond in it. The person finding it is the winner. And the price is a marzipan pig. Norway. My parents were broke when I was a kid. But you'd never know it from Christmas. They always went all out. Put money on credit cards, etc. One Christmas we were particularly broke. But Dad went out and spent probably most of his paycheck on last-minute gifts. When we got home, my mom had been with us all day, and since there was no money, she hadn't gone food shopping. All we had were some cheap hot dogs and canned beans. My parents put the beans in a pot over the fire, grabbed the hot dog cooker from when we went camping, and threw the dogs on over the fire too. My sister and I loved it so much. We did it again the following Christmas. Eventually we weren't quite so poor. The $2 A&P hot dogs became Nathan's. Then Sabarettes. Then butcher bratwursts. The beans went to B&M. Then eventually fancy gourmet speep. But my sister and I are now adults with our own families. And even on years where we're not together, our entire family has hot dogs and beans on Christmas Eve. Undefined. Edit 2. Wow. My first gold. Thanks again everyone. Glad you all enjoyed hearing about our holiday tradition. Merry Christmas. That's the best. Turning unfun poverty into appreciation in the future. I love those kind of traditions. Every year for the last 8 years my sister and I gift each other a weird thing that makes the other one laugh. It started with when our house almost got repossessed just before Christmas and everything was so terrible that we just wanted to make each other laugh. Highlights include 12 packs of frozen potato smiley faces to resolve a long-forgotten childhood argument. 3 chocolate tubes filled with tinny rubber ducks instead of chocolate. A lucky dip which involved hiding small gifts in socks, and this year a bag of potatoes with Nicolas Cage's face blue tacked on every individual potato. My uncle always hosts Christmas at his house since family comes from all over and he has beds for everyone to stay over. On his property is about an 150-foot diameter pond. Every Christmas morning we wake up and build a giant bonfire to get ready for the impending shock we will feel later on around noon. We also try to get a decent drunk blanket going for those that are of our family's required drinking age just in case. Come noon on Christmas Day, we do the polar plunge to rid ourselves of last year's crap and look forward to next year. We huddle around this bonfire while my grandpa passes around shots to help warm up because that pond is peeping freezing. Undefined. We have quite a few. We open Christmas season by putting up the tree the day after Thanksgiving and watching Polar Express. We've done this for so long that my 20 and 17-year-olds have no memory of not doing it. And my 13-year-old has never had a Christmas where we didn't do this. My youngest and I make a list of holiday movies. And keep track of all the ones we watch. We shoot for one movie a day starting December 1st up until Christmas, with some movies earmarked for specific days. We also watch as many holiday-themed episodes of our favorite TV shows as we can. The weekend before Christmas is when we make hot cocoa. Pile into the car. Put on Christmas music. And drive around to look at light displays. December 23rd is Cookie Day. I get up early. And spend the day baking. I always make way too much. The kids help when they get up. I watch A White Christmas in the morning. And we watch Christmas with the Cranks in the afternoon. This also happens to be the anniversary of my mom-in-law passing. We always buy a Christmas bouquet of flowers and tell stories about her. The kids were young when she died, so they have a foggy memory. They like to hear about her. She was an amazing grandma. Christmas Eve is when we hand out new pajamas and watch Home Alone. Home Alone is our favorite Christmas movie, so we cap off the season with it. Christmas Day is usually when I do this incredible barbecue brisket. This year we did that early in the month. And are having a simple meat and cheese spread for Christmas Day. That way I can spend less time in the kitchen and more time playing board games and video games. For the past decade, Santa has made it a habit of bringing us all Steam gift cards and a huge stack of board games. Pajamas all day. Good food. Board games. It's perfect.